All right, let's talk about area and circumference of circles. So the first thing you need to remember is the actual formula for these things. Now, I've got a pretty stupid rhyme that one of my students told me. I think a lot of you may know it already. But if you don't know how to memorize these formulas, circumference equals pi times diameter, area equals pi r squared. Now this little rhyme, cherry pie is delicious, apple pies are too. It makes me cringe saying it, it's fucking embarrassing, but if you can remember that, that might really help you in an exam. Cherry pie is delicious, apple pies are too. Remember it. Right, so I've drawn a pretty shit circle here. Started off pretty good and then got fucked up round about here, but let's not worry about that. If we want to find the area and circumference of this circle, let's remember our formulas. So, area equals pi r squared. So we can grab our calculator, we'll press pi times, now the radius here is from the center to the edge, so that's going to be 7. Pi times 7 squared, which is 153.9. Fairly straightforward. Area equals 153.9. Now if we're doing circumference, circumference is pi d. D is the diameter, which is from one end to the other, going through the middle. So if the radius is 7, the diameter is going to be double that, because it takes 2 radii to make a diameter. So diameter is going to be 14. So it's just going to be pi times 14, which is 43.98. So circumference equals 43.98. It really is as simple as plugging the numbers into a calculator, but obviously you need to know the formulas to be able to do that. Okay, let's find the area and circumference of this circle here. But this time we're told the diameter, not the radius. It's still very straightforward. You just got to be a bit careful with regards to whether we're finding area and circumference. So let's remember, circumference is pi times diameter. So that is going to be as simple as pi times 12. So we type into our calculator pi times 12 and we get 37.7. Circumference equals 37.7. Now as far as area is concerned, remember, area is pi r squared, where the r stands for radius, and radius is half of the diameter. So we're going to have to half this to get the radius. Half of 12 is 6. So it's going to be pi times 6 squared. Pi times 6 squared, which is 113.1. 113.1. And it's as simple as that. Now things get a little bit complicated when we're told stuff backwards. Essentially we're given the answer and asked to find something in the working. So here we're told the area is 120 centimeters squared. Find the radius. So there's no need to stress out at this point. All we've got to do is go back to our formula. So because the question has mentioned area of a circle, let's write out the formula for area of a circle. So we know area equals pi r squared. Now let's fill in what we know. We know the area is 120. We don't need to include the centimetre squared, don't include the units when we're doing equations here. So instead of a, we put 120 equals pi r squared. And now it's just a case of some algebraic manipulation, getting the r by itself, so moving what is connected to the r to the other side of the equals. So the first thing we want to move is the pi, because we want to move the pi and the squared. The squared is very closely attached to the r right now, so we want to keep that till later. We move the pi first by dividing. So if we divide both sides by pi, that just becomes 120 over pi equals r squared, because the pi is now removed from that side. Then how do we remove a squared? We don't divide by 2. That's the most common answer. Don't fucking do that. What's the opposite of squaring something? Square rooting it. So to get rid of this squared, we square root both sides. Therefore, when we square root this side, the squared disappears, just becomes r. And on this side, now is where we get the calculator out. So let's put into our calculator square root of 120 over pi, which is going to be a horrible decimal number, but it is, let's put it this side, 6.18 to 2 decimal places. So if the question mentions area, write out the formula for area, then plug in what you know. Okay, let's try this one. Here, we're told the circumference is 67 centimeters. So because the question has mentioned circumference, we are going to write down the formula for circumference. That's the way we got to think about these things. So C equals pi d. Now the question is asking for us to find the radius. We've got circumference equals pi times diameter, but we know that the diameter is twice the radius. So let's find the diameter first, then we'll figure out the radius. So just like before, let's plug in what we know. we know C is 76. So we got 76 equals pi d. Now we want to get the d by itself, so we divide by pi. The pi is connected to the d by times, so to move it we have to do the opposite. So that's going to give us d equals, and we'll grab our calculator to do 76 divided by pi, 24.19. There's a few decimal places more there, but I'll just round it to 2dp. Now, we know that the diameter is the whole way across. We only want the radius. So we have to now half that to get the radius. So we divide our answer by 2, 12.1. Easy as that. So once we're comfortable with the formulas, everything becomes so much easier.